Welcome everyone to Chattanooga Self-Improvement Meetup, a meetup group designed for people just like you that enjoy the benefits of continuous self-improvement. Today we're very pleased to have our co-organizer, Coach Dan, as our guest speaker today. Dan is the owner and president of New York Site Power Corp, located in Walsworth, New York. He's highly motivated and organized leader with a demonstrated history of successful projects in the emergency power generation and off-grid production markets. He is experienced with business management, generator systems, technical troubleshooting, and repair systems, system design and engineering, contract negotiation, operations, and team management. He has volunteered in multiple capacities with the Inspire Weekend of Dade County, Georgia, and is leadership director for 2020. The Inspire Weekend is sponsored by the Leadership Table, a nonprofit organization of proactive community leaders who have personally invested themselves in creating a 3-day, high-energy, life-inspiring event for young adults, high school senior through 25 years of age. While living in New York State, Dan was the fire commissioner, Walsworth Fire District 11, 2010 through 2012, vice president, Canal Connection Chamber of Commerce, 2008 through 2011. And he served as vice president of the Penton Volunteer Ambulance, 2000 through 2001. Dan describes himself as a tactical mind reader and accomplished professor of shenanigans. Now let's learn 5 steps to building an effective tribe and why it's necessary. Take it away, Professor Dan.
Wow, Glenn, that's an amazing intro. I didn't know all that was available on Google because I don't know that we talked about half of that stuff, but thank you for the great introduction.
You're welcome. Just the facts, sir. Just the
Thanks,
facts.
brother. Thank you. Guys, thanks for having me this morning. I'm super excited to be with you and share a little bit about what I've learned about the importance of building your tribe and having a tribe of people with you. For those of you that don't know me, at a fairly young age, I experienced a certain level of success in about age 25 or so. And at that point, I had figured, hey, I've made it. I'm good. And I stopped learning for a while. And I got lazy is what happened. And it wasn't until down the road I went through some life changes and I lost a relationship of 15 years that I had to stop and regroup and say, wow, what's going on here? What am I missing? I failed in my relationship. There's something more to this. What's going on? Well, I'd gotten lazy. I thought I knew everything. Pride took over. And it really wasn't until I hired a coach to get things straightened out and I set my pride aside, I realized that I had all the mindset that was important to success and I had the stuff, but the piece that I didn't have was the environment or the people. Even with the right mindset, I was able to achieve a certain level of success. However, I didn't really achieve fulfillment and happiness until I realized the importance of my surroundings, who I was around, my environment, my group of people, my close friends, my tribe, if you will. So I think this is an important subject because a lot of us, we're here because we're on a self-improvement journey. And if we weren't on that journey, we wouldn't be in this group. We wouldn't have an interest in this. So to add in environment to mindset, I feel is so important. Okay. I recently saw a post from my buddy Alex. Now, Alex is in one of my business groups. He's an MBA graduate from Harvard. He's also a medical doctor, very intelligent. And I thought his post was interesting. I'm going to read it to you because I think this is true. And some of you may have seen this as you grow, as you expand yourselves. But Alex went on to say, he said, when you become better than your friends will become your enemies. And I thought, wow, is that true? And in some cases it is, okay? And he said, this is one of the most important lessons that I try to teach my employees. When we level up, okay? And when we change our circle, the people that are in our life, they're either going to step up and they're going to take that journey with us, or they're probably going to hate us for taking that journey and growing. So we're all in this group for a reason. And I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate this group, what you bring to me, what you've taught me, and just the camaraderie we have. So I think this is a great topic for today. And this builds a little bit on what Brother Anton presented several weeks back, maybe a month back. He talked about the importance of connections, especially during these times when everybody's quarantined and put away. The importance of human connection cannot be understated. A lot of people now, as we look around, maybe not even looking at the media, but most people they're angry, they're pissed off, they're wondering what's next, and rightfully so. Everyone's frustrated. But what I see in my circle, I see positive. I see a lot of people are looking for opportunities. They're finding opportunities. They're capitalizing on opportunities. So every time I open up my Facebook feed or my social media, as opposed to seeing the doom and gloom, I get to see positive things. I get to see projects they're working on, ideas they have. So again, this goes to stress the importance of really a tribe. I'm going to share a screen here with you, if you'll bear with me for a second. All right. So a little bit about me now. For those of you that don't know, Glynn did a great introduction. Thank you for that. But I've been down in Tennessee now for 3 years. I love it. I escaped the busyness of New York. And most of the reason I did that was to slow down. I'm wired to work 100 hours a week. I'm highly motivated. I love to coach people. I love to build better men, better husbands, better leaders by holding them accountable. God's given me the gift of boldness, so that's what I love to do. From here, I still run my business in New York. I've got a great team up there that takes care of the daily operations and runs the business for me. But I also do coaching, leadership coaching all over the place. That's what I love to do. Building tribes, building teams, and helping businesses really build their culture so they can scale is what I enjoy doing. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about, I want to ask you guys we're going to talk about building an effective tribe. Now, not just a tribe meaning, okay, this is my best friend, or these are the 3 people that I hang out with on the weekends. I want to talk about building a tribe that not only serves you, but they're effective in every area of your life. And anybody that's done any coaching with me knows that I believe in 4 areas of life, okay? Your mind, your body, your business, and your relationships, okay? And the 5th thing is faith, if you're a person of faith. So there's those 4 pillars plus 1 that if we have those in balance, we're going to live a much better life. And I believe in building a tribe to help us in each area of those, each one of those 4 areas. So what I've found is people generally live in one of 3 states, okay? And most of us here, we do our own things. We have our own business. But, 99% of people, they live in a state of dependence. And what does this mean? This means that they're going to be dependent on somebody else for a paycheck. They'll be dependent on an employer. Maybe they're dependent on their spouse, but there's some level of dependence elsewhere. Second, independence. And I think a lot of us have achieved that with our own business, okay? We don't depend on somebody else for a paycheck. We get to do what we want when we want. We get to control our schedule. We get to choose what we do with our time. And I think once somebody reaches independence, it's like, okay, wow, we've achieved a certain level that not a lot of people have. So we take pride in that. And we're like, okay, good. But The third level that I realized over the past, I don't know, probably 8 to 10 years is something that not a lot of people reach, okay? And that's interdependence. And that's when we can work with other people to produce a result that's greater than we can get on our own, okay? And this comes to where we build a tribe and how we're going to intentionally build a tribe to not only help us, but to give our gifts and to share with somebody else. So when we work with 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 other people, there's a synergy there that we can build that we normally couldn't do on our own. So we go from a level of independence, which feels really good, to now working with other people, helping other people, and putting great things back out into the universe. So I believe that what we give comes back. The energy that we put out comes back to us one way or another. And I've seen that happen thousands of times over again. So I think that's important. You give, or you're going to get in return what you give, and you're going to have to give first. So what is a tribe, guys? By definition, it's a social division in a society consisting of families or communities linked by social, economic, religious, or blood ties with a common culture. And that's the important part, with a common culture. This group, for example, what is our culture? Our culture is growth. Our culture is expanding our mind. Our culture is looking outside what we already know to seek more knowledge and to seek better for ourselves. So a common culture, typically having a recognized leader, okay? So what does this mean? Every tribe has a leader. You're like, well, okay, if I don't have a tribe, or if I have a tribe, who's the leader? Well, you're the leader, because you're the leader of your life. You're the leader of your decisions. You should be a leader in your family, whether you're the wife, the husband, maybe you're the leader in your company. You are the leader of that tribe. You get to control your tribe. You get to choose how you build your tribe and who's in your tribe. That's the cool thing, okay? So let's talk about that for a minute. Anybody, what does a tribe look like? Who'd like to pipe in?
I've noticed that business leaders who have a tribe, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and they really seem to connect and support each other just naturally on a regular basis. It always amazes me when you see someone who really does have a tribe that's connected.
Dan, I believe a tribe reflects the principles and beliefs that the leader abides by. And I think, I forget, was that Becky that was talking? But, someone that is leading a tribe has achieved the ability to connect with other people. And that leader is consistently working to, shall we say, duplicate himself. Therefore, the tribe grows.
Very good.
I would say that it's a group of people really working towards the same goals, and those could shift around. So they could be, one day it's Dan's goal, or 1 week it's Dan's goals, 1 week it's Kelly's goals, but because everyone is working to help each other at different times when they need it, the whole group comes
Right.
up.
Good, definitely. Anyone else? All right. Why build a tribe? How many people ever do that? Look around and ask yourself, how many of your friends, how many people that you know out there actually have a tribe? And when we reference a tribe, again, that's a group. It's not your best friend. It's not 3 people. It's not your beer drinking buddies on the weekend. Look around. How many people actually have a tribe of people that hold them accountable? A tribe of people that are willing to be open and honest with them and hold them to the fire. How many people have that? Why build that tribe?
I would say, Dan, like you had mentioned earlier, only few really accomplish that.
I say a lot, both in my full-time job as well as in my coaching business, we're better together. When you find a group of people that you can collaborate with and share ideas and, like you said, hold each other accountable. And it just provides even motivation on those days when you might be struggling. It's always surprising to me the different people that will encourage you, and it just makes a tremendous difference.
Amen.
Kelly, I would so agree that with the small business owners I work with, they tend to feel so lonely that I end up, almost every one of them at some point has described me as their business therapist. And it's just that they need that camaraderie. They need someone to talk to and bounce ideas off of and things like that.
You know, I often use the phrase teamwork makes the dream work. And some of you have heard me tell the story about big team, little me, which we won't get into now.
Uh, I own a small business, and interesting that Dan's third item was interdependency, and that was quite a challenge, when I mentioned that, and I actually did it without reading guidelines. And I tried to create interdependency within the team. But the side effect of it could be that not everyone is at the same level. So the only time that it worked for me for the interdependency was at the university with other graduate students working for a research. And we had a very successful group at that time. I mean, this was when I was very young, and it was the most pleasurable experience that we managed to put our heads together with a direction. But that was the only time, honestly, and being the small business, it is a challenge. The interdependency, I love it. I love what you said. So, and I'm here to learn that more.
Thank you. That's a good point, Mayor Dad. In a small business, a lot of times it's up to us to create the culture within our company and then hire based on that culture. Because if we don't click with our people, with our employees, it's going to be tough, and we will not be able to create that interdependence. Yet you found that in the other setting. Okay, so this is why it's important to intentionally build our tribe, and we get to choose who we hang out with. Okay, because it's a lot easier to achieve that interdependence when we're on the same page, when we have the same goal. Maybe not the same beliefs, but we need to be headed down the same road, a similar path, because when we're all in that same path, now if one of us veers off the path, I've got a tribe of people around me that aren't afraid to say, hey, you're off, come back over here. Whereas most people have friends, okay, that when we get in a situation, when we get in trouble, our friends will say, oh, that's okay. You'll be okay. Personally, I don't want to hear that. I want people in my tribe to pull me aside and say, listen, you're screwing up. You're not being the husband you're supposed to be right now. You're not being accountable in your business. You're not accountable with your finances. What's going on, dude? Those are the people that I need in my tribe, and it's uncomfortable, but it works. Okay. So I think that's important.
One other input I have, Dan, I agree with you with the fact that sports in general, people or team players inside a corporate who are familiar with team environment, whether it's soccer, volleyball, basketball, or even independent sports, which is tennis, for example, is singular. Ping pong, tennis, or martial arts. So if they have a sense of teamwork and balance in particular, having a balance in life, it helps tremendously to build a tribe, a corporate tribe with them. It makes a huge difference. So.
Right.
I was going to say, to expand on that a little bit, that in order to grow as a leader, you have to let go of control. Because if you are just trying to do everything under the sun, you're going to lose focus on other goals. So other people that you build up in your tribe help you meet those and reach those goals and go beyond those goals. And that's what I've learned. And you can also bring in the wrong people into your tribe. And I did that when I was really young. And so instead of being able to employ people off the street, hey, come teach karate. Yeah, right. That ain't going to happen. I have to build them up from within. I'm hiring from within. So I have to transform the person in over several years of time. Not everyone has that luxury, you know, because when you hire someone, their personality changes in 3 weeks.
Right.
But I'm in charge of their personality and to some degree. And as the people rise to the top and they pass all those goals, those are the people that are going to be on my team. And I like what you said about, you know, pulling other people in, you're off track, you know, and that I've seen that happen with my own eyes just like a month ago. And I think the person that said what he said is now going to change his mind about certain things. But the point is you just need to understand that you can't do it alone and you have to have others help you because you can only do so much.
Right. All good points, definitely, for sure. All right.
So I'd like to add that, if I may, 20 years ago, I had to leave my job as an executive director because I'd gotten very ill. When I started to recover, I had nothing. And I thought, well, I'll build a little tribe to keep me company. I created something called the Women's Council on Diversity. I thought getting together with some fellow women might be very healing, comforting. What I didn't realize at the time was in doing that, I set myself up for an entire career of dealing with women in the workplace, women in leadership, diversity, and kept on going in part by the inspiration that they gave me and still do. It was never my intent because I wasn't as smart as you guys doing it on purpose, but it turned out to be the best decision I ever made.
Excellent. Excellent. Deborah, I think that's important because you said something that stuck right out. You intentionally, you built that, you wanted it, so you created it. And a lot of times people look for a place to belong, whether it's a chamber of commerce, a community organization, a church. People want to belong, okay? Yeah. If you can't find a tribe, then go out and build one. Now, in my experience, I've been a part of a lot of different causes, community events, and things like this. Met a lot of great people, but it wasn't exactly the tribe I wanted. And that's why I set out probably 7-8 years ago now to intentionally build that tribe. And it's been one of the best things I've ever done.
I have a question for you about that.
Sure.
Say you've built the tribe,
mm-hmm.
but a lot of the people all of a sudden want to go in a different direction than you. What do you do?
In terms of employees or friends, or could you be more
Colleagues,
specific?
maybe, yeah.
Okay. With employees in my business, and this is a whole nother topic, but one of the most important things you can do in a business before you scale it is to create your culture. And to create a culture, you need core values. Not only do you need core values, which I always had in my business, but I never really learned the importance of speaking in terms of those core values, teaching in terms, promoting in terms, disciplining in terms of those core values. Now, when we bring somebody new on, they don't need to have all the experience. They don't need to be the perfect employee. They don't need to have all the skills, but what they do need is to accept the core values and say, yes, I can live by those. If they can do that, that's what I consider the basics. We can train them to do anything. So it's really having those core values established, what we believe in, how we're going to operate. If you can operate like that, we'll probably get along pretty good. If you say, nope, that's not me, then it's probably not going to work. So I think having those core values, and that goes along with knowing who you are. And I mean, that's big in self-improvement too. We all have to know who the hell we are before we can go out and build a tribe of what we want. Does that help?
Yeah.
then if I'm talking too much, of course, stop me. What I learned actually, fear and trust, the emotion of fear and trust. And of course, Sensei Glynn said that control is extremely important. Based on what I know, corporates are not democracy nor dictatorship. It's very much to me, the best experience I had is if you have a misfit team player, you're going to have a lot more challenge. So to have the right team players, you have to know who you are and what your insecurities and strengths are, and always work on yourself. But then also being a captain, you have to put pride to a side also. And I see a lot of leaders who do not do that. You have to be humble,
Right.
and understand their position, their challenges, etc. Easily said than done. It's best to build a small team rather than just being so ambitious and have a large number of people with variety of psychology. And I had two different companies, and one of the companies we grew way too fast, and we could not hear each player concerns, and the trust within the team players, when it vanishes, you have a lot of problems there, just inner problems. So
Right.
I hope that I'm not talking too much, but one thing I learned is always be willing to learn. And I learned a lot, just within the last few minutes. So.
Right, right. That goes along with being, that's one of the core values of one of my business groups, and that is be a lifetime student. Also be humble is one of the core values. So I agree that humility we need to learn, and that's a huge part of us developing as leaders, is having the humility. Experiencing success early on for me, I didn't necessarily have that humility until I had a major life event, turned things upside down. And unfortunately, that was revealed to me. A lot of times it takes a crisis for us to realize that. And I'm glad I did years ago, because I've learned since then. But all right, moving forward, guys. 5 steps, and we're going to go through these pretty quickly. You'll want to take notes. There's nothing in here that's rocket science, but it really breaks this down, and we'll touch on some important points within these 5 steps, okay? Number 1, guys, we've got to set the stage. And what this means is a lot of us have already become leaders. We're leaders in our profession, in our business, in our communities. And what that means is, as leaders, a lot of the time people are following us. So who holds us accountable? And sometimes that's not comfortable. We're used to leading. So we're going to say, well, who's qualified to call us out on our stuff? Who's going to make us uncomfortable? And a lot of times it's not going to be the 99% of people. It's going to be within our small tribe, within this group. Who's going to hold us accountable? So I always say, in my business, I tell people, I say, listen, I tell my employees, it's time to get comfortable being uncomfortable, or find another place to fail. And that's harsh. People say that's crazy. Well, it's not, because as an employee of mine, I want you to grow. I want to bring you up. I want better for you. I want your dreams to come to fruition. I want to help you with that. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that goes for us as we build a tribe too, because what that means is, it means we, as leaders already, we need to meet other leaders that are stronger than us, that we can collaborate with, that we can get around with, that we can share ideas with. And it goes along with the being the biggest fish in the small pond thing. Okay. I've played in many different ponds, and I can assure you that I want to be the dumbest person in that pond. Okay. In my business groups, there's guys that make 9 figures. They make a ton more money than I do. And I want to be the dumbest person in that room, because I always learn something. And for most people, that's really uncomfortable. We don't like to be pushed out of our comfort zone. So Get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to leave the old programming behind, okay? And that's what I mean by set the stage. Get ready to get uncomfortable, leave the old programming behind. And if you want a tribe that really serves you, you're going to have that humility. You're going to have to be ready to learn. And the fact is that even in this group, all of you know something that I don't. And that's why I enjoy this. So always be open-minded, always be ready to learn. And that uncomfort, you know, maybe the first time you did public speaking, of course it's uncomfortable, but after you do it 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, it's no longer uncomfortable. It's because you do it. So I would encourage you to put yourself in that situation, set yourself up knowing that I'm going to walk into this. It's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to deal with people, talk to people, and collaborate with people that know things that I don't, and they may be smarter than me. So number one, set the stage. Get ready to get uncomfortable and embrace it, because we do not grow from a place of comfort. We do not grow sitting on the couch. We do not grow being inactive, by not reading, by not collaborating. So get comfortable, get uncomfortable, and embrace that. That's number one. Anybody have any comments on that one?
I was just going to say, I learned a long time ago as well that in order to get anywhere in life, you have to face your fears. You cannot be afraid to do certain things. I mean, jumping out of an airplane, I haven't done yet, but I want to do it because it's a rush. But, you know, one of my fears is public speaking and getting in front of a camera and whatnot. And one of the things I did personally was about 2004, I was given the opportunity to do some work for PBS and answer the phones. And I thought, okay, that'll be fun. And then that day, the only day I came in to do the phones, they said, how would you like to be a co-host? And I swallowed really hard, and I thought, you know what, this is it. I got to face this fear. And it's been 5 years on TV. So it got me to where I became more comfortable, like you were saying. And but I've shied away from being out in the public. I just don't like to have the spotlight on me. But I realize as time goes on, if you have that knowledge base and you have that leadership ability, you might have to get out in front, because someone has to lead. Someone has to lead the people. Someone has to take charge.
Right, right. Corey, that's something you're doing great at, by the way, in your Facebook content with your business, is getting in front of the camera and showing people that. So I would encourage any of you guys, especially now during these times, everybody's eyeballs is on social media. So if you have a business, get out there, share your gift. And even if you think maybe I'm not good on camera, do it. Do it again, do it again, do it again. And if you do it consistently over a month, I guarantee you at the end of 30 days, you're just going to get on camera, you're going to share your message. And the more you do it, the better you get. And those are the people right now that I see that are winning. They're putting themselves out there, they're giving their message. And especially during this time when the world needs truth more than anything else, when everybody's afraid to tell the truth, the world needs more of that. And it may be in the karate industry, it may be in the financial industry, whatever your industry is, share your message, shine your light, because when you do that, you're going to get more eyeballs. When you get more eyeballs, you're going to get more business. And it's a win-win, definitely.
Dan, I would say along the lines of the feeling the fear and whatnot is that imposter syndrome, if people are being honest with themselves, they almost always have imposter syndrome. And you can't let that stop you, because the only way you can become the expert and have that confidence is to work on through it and figure it out. But goodness, right. Imposter syndrome is a super real thing all the time.
And there's also a lot of imposters out there now, okay? There's a lot of coaches that are parroting theories out of a book that they've never lived, okay? So right. if you've lived through something, if you've been through a divorce and been successful, if you scaled your business to 7, 8, 9 figures and been successful, you may not think you have a gift, but you have a gift to share. So if you're competent, if you've experienced it, if you've lived it and experienced success in it, then share it. That's so important, because there's a lot of people that it's tough to sift through now who's real and who isn't. So definitely, if you've got that gift, share it.
Something I wanted to share with Corey and Dan both, and everyone, of course, from all the way teenage years, you know, Bruce Lee was always my number one role model. And you know, many people including myself, I used to think, well, martial arts is kicking somebody's butt. It is not. It's philosophy of life. And if you, I actually go back and try to understand more Bruce Lee's philosophy. And it's quite simple, but yet at the same time, it can get complex. And it is, martial arts is one of the best things also for refining your soul and have a mind and body to meet. So it's not a fighting, it's making friendship, with your friend. And, my kudos to both of you, of course, for that leadership. So.
Hey, you want to hear a complex Bruce Lee philosophy?
Yes.
It's short, but I'll make it sweet. It goes like this. He who knows not and knows not he knows not, he is a fool, shun him. He who knows not and knows he knows not, he is simple, teach him. He who knows and knows not that he knows, he is asleep, awaken him. He who knows and knows that he knows, he is wise, follow him.
Now you got me thinking for all day to digest that.
And it's not talking about the nose, just so you know.
All right, guys, let's move on. Number two, define your tribe. What do they look like, okay? And what does this mean by define them? Who do you aspire to be like? What do you aspire to have? What do you aspire to achieve? And don't underestimate the value of writing this down. It's like a want list. It's a wish list. Where do you want to go? Okay, so you can't build your tribe intentionally if you don't know where you want to go. It's really that simple. What job do you aspire to have? Is it a doctor? Is it a lawyer? Is it a business owner? What level of income do you want? Define it. And this goes back to very basic personal development stuff. If you don't know where you want to go, you can't get there. You can't build the map. Okay. So when you're building a tribe, it's really the same thing. You've got to build that map. You've got to understand what you're looking for, what kind of income, what kind of health, what kind of people do you want to be around? Do you like people with high energy, low energy? Do you want to be a millionaire? Do you want to make 6 figures a year? Whatever it is, define it. Okay. What kind of a legacy do you want to leave? That's important. Most of us are in this because we want to do better. We want other people to do better. So what will your legacy be? What does your tribe look like? Define it. And once you answer these questions, you can start to figure out where they might be. And the tip I have for this is we have tools now that we didn't have, I don't know how long ago, even 15 years ago. Every answer to every question on the planet is literally right in our hands, okay? So people can use this as a time waster, as a time killer. They can use social media as a distraction. They can use it to bring them down, or they can use it as a tool to build them up. This is also a tool to find your tribe. Social media is a tool to find your tribe. That search bar on Facebook, on Instagram, you can find exactly what you're looking for, all right? So once you start to find those people, once you start to find that tribe, you sort through and you figure out who's real, who has achieved what you want to, and who hasn't. But it has literally never been this easy to intentionally build a tribe. It used to take phone calls. It used to take meetings. It used to take flights across the country, a ton of resources, money. That's not the case anymore. It's literally at your fingertips. And yes, I spend money to travel. I go all over the place. However, right here, think about it this way. Wouldn't it be great if you wanted to travel anywhere in the world, okay? You dialed up your tribe. You've got somebody in Australia. You've got somebody in South Africa. You've got somebody in Canada. If you want to go to Canada, any one of the states, you've got a tribe. Think of how cool that would be. It used to take literally years to put this together, but not anymore. So start to define them, write it down, look at exactly what you want and get it on paper. And then you know what you're after. Then you can build the map to get there. Then you know what to search for. Then you know who to look for. Okay. That goes on with number three. Number three, know where to look. Okay. these people that you want to be like, these people that you aspire to become, where do they frequent? Where are the places they go? What groups do they associate with? And if you want to be a teacher, where are you going to look? You're going to look in a school or a university. If you want to be in the trades, if you want to be an electrician, a plumber, where do you look? Well, they're pretty easy to find. Okay. What if you want to be healthy? Okay. Health is one of the 4 pillars. Where do you look? Well, you probably go to the gym and you look for other people that are healthy and other trainers. This is pretty straightforward. One of the things I want to mention here, though, although this isn't rocket science, when I say know where to look, I see a lot of people networking, even in Chattanooga. They go to these networking events, and what they do is they end up at a bar and they end up drinking. Okay. And the tip that I have here is, if you want to be a millionaire, okay, if you want to get to 1 million or 10 million or wherever you want to go, I can assure you, those people, they're not hanging out at the bars. You may make some great connections at these networking events, but are they really the caliber of connections that you want? The people that are producing on a 1% level, that are above the 99%, the people that are making $450,000 a year or more, the people that are really making an impact on this planet and leaving a legacy, I can guarantee you they're not at Southside Social drinking on Saturday nights. So I see a lot of people doing that and a lot of people flocking to that event, and it's okay. I like to have a beer on the weekends too, but really consider where you're going to put your time, okay, and who you're going to hang out with. And that's super important, because think about it. If, again, you want to be a millionaire, where are you going to look? Well, you could look at, say, the country club. You can look at community events, probably business groups. Those are good places to find those people. You've got to use your head and do a little thinking. Where would these people hang out? And story there, one of my clients up in New York, he owns a ton of gas stations. We do the generators for all of his gas stations, and his father was an old school businessman. He owned 3 gas stations at the time, and he was against self-improvement, really. He was against investing. Well, this gentleman's name is Ken, and he started out with 3 gas stations. Then he joined the country club, paid some ridiculous amount to most people's standards per year. But once he got in there, now he made more connections. He met more people. He networked with higher quality people. He ended up with investors. He ended up with business partners. And Ken went from 3 gas stations to 24 gas stations now. And Ken is a funny guy, because when I go to his house, he's sitting in his basement in his sweats behind his desk looking at his wall of monitors, because he has everything monitored, all of his gas stations. And he doesn't have a care in the world, but it's because he took that step outside of his comfort zone, against what his dad had said, and he invested in himself and he invested in his tribe, that he was able to grow like that. So know where to look, okay? And along those lines, another place to look would be, why not go to a seminar on a subject that you're interested in, okay? Who are the speakers? What are their qualifications? Take a look at that. These are great places to look. At that seminar, network with the people attending, because they're most likely on the same path that you are, or a similar path. They want to learn, they want to grow, they're interested in the same subject, all right? My pro tip here is, when you go to the seminar, take note of who the speakers are, and then go find their mentors. Go find who taught them. That's the way to the top. You've got to think outside the box a little bit. You've got to be a little bit unconventional, because you won't want to miss these opportunities. When you can figure out who taught those speakers, now you're on the path to getting things figured out and finding the right people. But you've got to have them defined first. So number 3, know where to look. Questions? All right, moving on. Number 4, connect. Once you find them, you've got to connect with them, okay? And how do we do that? Well, the easiest way to connect is, a lot of us already know this, you pay a coach. We do this. We get paid for this. People come to us and they pay us money to show them how to get from point A to point B. Why wouldn't we do the same? I have multiple coaches that I pay for different things. And a coach isn't something that I'm going to establish a working relationship with for 5 years. No, I want to get in, I want to learn what I don't know, and I want to get out and move on. So pay for one, pay for a coach, pay for a trade school, pay for a college, a financial advisor. Okay, these people probably know something that you don't. So the quickest way is to pay for a mentor. Connect with them that way. A better way, and it's going to take longer, but figure out a way to build a relationship with these people. Figure out who you admire. Figure out who to reach out to. And again, you've got to think outside the box, but to do this, you really need to know something about that person, all right? You've got to do a little bit of homework, and you've got to understand what's important to them. And once you figure that out, you've got to offer value. You need to stand out, and you want to do something. You want to take an approach that nobody else has thought of, okay? We all know those people who call us up and they say, hey, can we pick your brain? Can we pick your brain? And we hate those calls because it's like, no, you can't pick my brain. Here's the price for it. And they get pissed off, whatever. Figure out a way to offer value to somebody smarter than you so they remember you and they want to give you their time. And I'll give you an example. A young Marine who I'd networked with quite a while back. He's from New York. I met him in Vegas, and he'd sent me a message, hey, next time you're in New York, let's catch up, da-da-da-da-da. I didn't think much of it because these conversations happen all the time. Well, come Christmas that year, he had actually sent to my house a sampler pack, this big box of hand ground coffee. And he's like, hey, thanks for the opportunity to meet with you in Vegas, da-da-da. I look forward to catching up with you in New York. Well, who does that on a regular basis? I'll tell you who. The top level players do, because that's something I remember. So the next time I was in New York, guess what? I was sure to catch up with him. He's 24 years old. He's a young realtor. He wants to figure out how to make his first 6 figures. That's something I can easily do for him. I love this guy. I love his drive. I love his ambition, everything he stands for. And would I have really given him the time of the day if he didn't do something to stand out in my mind? I don't know. But the fact is, he did something. I remembered him. I connected. Got a great relationship now. I love him. His name is Avery. So what do you have to do to stand out to that person, to that mentor? You've got to do something that other people haven't thought of. And it goes along with customer service in our business, okay? Do you answer the phone right away? Are you responsive? Are you quick? Are you doing things your competitor is not doing? Because that's the way to get to the top. I recently ordered a custom knife, okay, from a brother of mine in a business group. And I know he's a top quality dude, but I didn't know much about him. So I ordered this knife, and a few months goes by, a box shows up at my door. And I open it up, and here's this knife. Perfect quality. Everything's great about it. I'm happy. Well, there's also a second knife in the box. And I said, well, I don't remember ordering 2, so why is there the second knife? And then there's a thank you card with a handwritten thank you inside of it. And his name is Ty. Ty went on to say, hey, listen, on social media, I saw that picture of your daughter in a cast, and she had this big smile on her face. And I knew right then I wanted her to have one of my blades. So I threw one of those in too. I hope you guys have a great day, and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, so now he just connected with me, not only through great service, great product, but he paid attention to detail, noticed my daughter, sent her something too. So he made a connection. I'm not going to forget Ty. He's got my business forever, and I'm going to advertise for him. So how are you connecting with people? Are you going above and beyond? Are you doing that extra 2% that other people aren't willing to do? Or do you get complacent in your business? Do you say, well, I've reached my income, like I'm happy here, so I'm just going to kind of float along? So it's important you're not going to want to miss these opportunities, because especially now when everyone else is literally shutting down in fear, now's the time to step it into high gear and do these little extra things, these little things that'll make people remember you, because When you do that, now, for example, Ty with the knife, Ty doesn't have to advertise. If he gets 10 customers like me telling 10 other people and he keeps doing what he's doing, he's got a business. And so connect. That's how you connect, is to go above and beyond and do the things that other people won't. Think outside the box. Use a combination of all these things to connect with people. And that means being creative, and it means going outside of your comfort zone. Number 5, seal the deal. What do I mean by this? It means once you've made that connection, now you've got to offer them some value. Good isn't good enough. That's one of our core values in our business group too. Good isn't good enough. Excellence is essential. So, seal the deal. Make relationships that last through those acts of kindness, through that extra 2%. Don't be afraid to give first. Always give first. Give without expectation of receiving anything. It's biblical, but how many of us actually do it? How many of us have people hold us accountable? When I get lazy in my business, I got a buddy that's like, hey man, you're not cutting it. You can do better. I need to hear that. I think a lot of us do. It can't be a one-way street, okay? The quality that you give, not just the quantity, not just giving, but the quality of what you give is directly proportionate to what you get back. Seen it 1,000 times, witnessed it, something about the universe, whatever you put out. If you put out great energy, you get it back. If you focus on bad things, you get them back. So it's your choice. But once you connect, give, give, give. And you're really going to need to use, what I like to do is I use sensory acuity. And what is this? That's knowing your mentor. It's knowing who you're trying to connect with. And that's using the 6 human needs, which that's something that there's a whole nother talk on that, but there's 6 human needs that every human needs. And if you can touch on those things and connect with that person, you got them for life. Lastly, I believe that with every interaction, everybody I meet, I want to leave them better than when I first met them. I want to leave them thinking, wow, this is the best experience I've ever had with another human being on the face of this earth, okay? And one way you can do that is something as simple as this. After you meet someone new, before you conclude the meeting, you look at them and say, thank you for your time, whatever. What is something I can do for you today? Just ask them straight out. What can I do for you? Because think about this. How many people actually do it? They don't. They don't do it. So when it happens, you're going to remember it. And I think that's super important. 2% extra I talk about. This is the car wash story, okay? So let's say you're going to wash a car, right? You get the bucket, you put the water in the bucket, you put the brush in the bucket, you wash the car. What does it look like? Well, it looks like shit, because what did you forget? You forgot the soap. How much extra effort does it take to get the water like you did, put a squirt of soap in it, now wash the car? 2% extra effort, you've got a completely different result at the end. So that's the difference between the 99% and the 1%. It's literally 2%, and it doesn't take that much more effort. It doesn't take much more effort to ask somebody, hey, what's something I can do for you? It doesn't take that much more effort to take a few minutes to learn something about them, to research them. So go 2% above, and you're always going to win, because nobody else will, especially now. People are literally frozen in fear. I'm excited for this time because there's opportunities all over the place when everybody else is just literally frozen. They don't know what to do. They're waiting around for answers. They're waiting for direction from the government. They don't know what's next. Take advantage of this and be that energy. 4 key areas, okay? Mind, body, business, relationships, and faith. Here's the key to a tribe. Write these things down. You don't want to miss these. Now, next to each one, list out the people that you can count on. Who can you call? All right? For my body, for my health. Who can I call that knows more than me about nutrition, about fitness? But not only that, who's going to be truthful with me? Who's going to hold me accountable? All right? In business, who's going to hold me accountable? Who won't pat me on the rear end and say, hey, it's okay. but they'll say, listen, man, your business is failing. We got to do something different. In relationships, when I'm failing as a husband, who's going to tell me? Who can I call up to say, listen, I'm struggling. I need to hear it straight. Who can you trust to tell you the truth? Not your friends that are just going to say, oh, it's okay, and sympathize with you and let you play the victim. Who's going to tell you the truth? Key is 10 people for each area. Okay? Write it down. See how your tribe stacks up. When you've got 10 people for each area, you've got one hell of a strong tribe. People that will not let you down, people that will not lie to you, people that will tell you the truth, people that will hold you accountable, people that you can just call up during the day when you're feeling alone in business, like we all do, when you're feeling like an outcast, when you're feeling like maybe I shouldn't do this. These are people you can call up to say, they're going to say, listen, I get it. Stop whining, get on board, let's go. Those are the people you want. 10 people for each. Once you've built that, you've got to start to one hell of a solid tribe, okay? Again, these people should be truthful with you. They've got to be honest. They've got to be able to give you constructive criticism and hold your ass to the fire. They've got to be able to do that. These people, it's going to be somebody different for every area of life. I mean, for example, I could have one mentor that's good with 2 of these areas, but not the other 3. So it's your job to figure out who's good at what and then provide value back and forth to build that relationship. Every relationship is literally formed to serve a person, to solve a need. If the need isn't being solved back and forth, that relationship will no longer exist. So like anything, it requires effort. The key here is to find people you can learn from, so you're always climbing the ladder, and to also reach down and bring other people up, okay? Just to review real quick, number 1 is get comfortable being uncomfortable. Number 2, you've got to define what you want. Number 3, know where to look. Number 4, you've got to connect with them. Number 5, you've got to seal the deal by exchanging, giving value, doing that relationship, okay? Get out there and build a solid tribe, because I believe that other than investing in yourself through self-improvement, through books, through reading, through seminars, there's literally no better investment out there on this planet than a tribe of strong men and women to travel this journey with. And it's not going to be built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. I mean, this has taken me a solid 8 years to do this, but I've got more than 10 people in each category. It's been hard work, but I'll tell you, it's worth it, because I am literally held accountable for everything I do. And because I live in truth, there's just a certain amount of satisfaction and fulfillment that comes with that. And no, I'm not perfect, but that's the cool thing, is when I'm screwing up, there's somebody letting me know. And that's something I really appreciate. And get outside your comfort zone 100%. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it, guys.
Dan, just a suggestion, that last slide, maybe you want to change the title of the 5 key areas, since it was 5 areas.
I always teach on 4 key areas. Some people are people of faith, others aren't. So I say the 5th one is your bonus one. I feel that it's essential, but not everybody believes.
Boy, what a message there, Coach Dan. There were a couple of things that I thought of as you were sharing with us there. You kept talking about the time is now, and it made me think of a quote of Einstein's. There's opportunity in every crisis. It's found in the middle of the crisis, not at the end. So now is the time. Yes, and another way of illustrating the importance of 2%, it's interesting, and that I've got my first live speaking gig since COVID tomorrow, which it looks like they've canceled it 4 times now, but looks like it will take place tomorrow down at the Walden Club. But to illustrate the 2%, I like the analogy of kicking it up 1 degree. Water is hot at 211 degrees, but 212 degrees it boils. It creates steam. It can move a locomotive. It can light a city. So just that little extra bit's what can make the difference.
Right.
Aaron Perez, you've been quiet.
Glenn, and you're headed north, okay, and you change your direction just 1 degree, okay, over the course of 200 miles, 1 degree, you're going to be way off course. So if
Yep.
you can change just 1 degree, absolutely. It makes all the difference in the world.
No doubt about it. Aram, we haven't heard anything from you, buddy. Are you there? Or did you go to sleep on the
I'm
riverbank?
no, I'm still here. I'm just absorbing. You know,
Well, did you learn
thinking of
anything that
how
will
to.
help you to get the robot moving a little faster?
Yeah, well, yeah. You know, I need to work on my tribe.
You've probably
So
got
yeah,
more of a tribe than you realize. Have you really called on them? People love to help people.
yeah, yeah. That's something I need to work on.
Real quick, there's something I
Yeah,
experienced just yesterday. I want to tell you about, Aaron. Maybe you experienced this as well, but I finally took a break from Facebook because I felt like at some point the argument or your point of view just becomes just kind of misconstrued, or maybe your intentions. Because when you type out what you feel or what you think, it's not the full conversation. And so what I did was I decided just to take a break, and I announced that yesterday. But I didn't stop there. I decided to record a podcast. I haven't even put it out yet, but I spent an hour just talking about what I want to talk about. And I think that we all have a voice, and I think when you put it out there in a text form, or even a video, it doesn't really resonate. And I think if people can just hear what we have to say and speak our mind and tell people from our experiences, then I think we're going to make a better connection. And my goal is to come back to Facebook, but my perspective will be different, and my intentions will be different, and my just everything I'm going to do is going to be more purposeful driven, and it's not going to be the same Facebook I've always had. I think as time goes on, we have to try to change for the better.
Brother Richie, you've been mighty quiet. Are you eating breakfast too, or do you have something you'd like to share?
No, just trying to absorb it all. And I guess my biggest question is, how has he chosen some of the people to be in those top 10?
Good question. I have a certain set of core values in my business that I live by. There's 14 of them, okay? And they very closely resemble the leadership traits of the Marine Corps. And I look for people that have similar traits, mainly integrity, unselfishness. Those are things that I really look for. I mean, if they can resonate with the things that I believe in, with my core values, chances are we're going to get along. I mean, we all know that there's millionaires out there who are complete scumbags, okay? But then we also know there's millionaires out there that are jeans and t-shirt kind of people that would give the shirt off their back to anyone. They're involved in the community, and quite frankly, you wouldn't know what they're worth because they selflessly give, okay? And it's really using sensory acuity to understand who they are. Do they resonate with your values? If they don't chase them down. It's not going to be worth it. But through getting to know someone, through research, through their message, and this is why I say, especially with Corey, is he puts his content out there with his karate studio. People are learning what he believes in. Corey's not afraid to share his message, and sometimes he can be polarizing, but people know what he stands for. Okay. I don't go into Corey's karate studio and go, man, I really I don't understand this guy. What does he believe? You know, does he say this, or is he all over the place? No, I've got a pretty good idea what Corey stands for, and share your message. Share your message and look for other people that do the same, and they're not afraid to share truth, because I think now, especially with social media, with the internet, with the fact everything's connected, it wasn't like this 10 or 15 years ago. Okay. We could hide behind our business. We could bullshit people. Think about sales. Sales isn't the same as it used to be. It was easy to snow somebody over. Now it's not. Things are transparent. So I think it's easy to tell who's full of shit and who's not, quite frankly. So use your sensory acuity to to screen people that way, really.
You're right, Dan. You know, text cannot convey emotion and or sarcasm. So what you put out there, it's really hard to get the message out. I think when you hear someone's voice, you can tell the inflection, the tone, the pitch, the volume, all that makes a big difference on your message. And I just suggest that if anyone has a message they want to get out there, that maybe just typing it out isn't the best idea.
Well, social media, I mean, we all talk is free, of course, and of course, I don't want to just to super inject, but there's social media. The problem that I see with social media is if it's too much talk and no action, then you lose your credibility. And talking about Corey, you know, I'm always impressed, just getting to see him and share some of his values, online. The only thing about the social media is if one, and we all are liable of it, if we make a mistake and put something that offends anyone, it goes way too deep, versus 15, 20 years ago, if you even said something out of a joke, for example, it's a joke. But then now, these days, the social media, they pick on politicians, they say, you said this, you said that, and it's too much talking, too much noise. So
Yeah,
that's right.
There's so much noise out there now. It's important to filter what goes into our brains and what doesn't.
Yes.
I haven't watched mainstream media in like 8 years, and I'm happy because of it. That crap doesn't go into my head, so it doesn't affect me. The distraction.
As you said, you have a very thick skin. Of course, you have to go to the discomfort area.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Something I was going to mention in the building out of that kind of network of people that you rely upon is if you identify what you have to offer and match up with someone. It's like I've got a dear friend who really wanted to get healthier. She came to me and asked me for help on that. And then I was able to ask for her help on some small business ownership. This has been many years ago, some small business ownership things. And it really developed that interdependency like you were talking about, because I was giving to her and she was giving to me, and we just become reliant on each other. But before you approach someone and say, hey, I'd like to work with you on such and such, saying, this is what I can offer to you, having some, and not in a salesy way, because these are presumably friends to some extent, people you have an existing relationship with, but saying, I'd love to help you with this. Would you help me with this other?
Right.
Could be very
and
effective.
having the ability to ask for help is huge. And I think, again, people know now who's authentic and who's not. We have an innate sense for that with everything we see on social media. We know everything is a lot of stuff on there is just crap, but we know who's authentic and who isn't. So yeah, definitely share your message, offer to help, and be authentic about it. And I think we can all tell when somebody has a different motive.
One of the things that has come up with me lately is people reaching out to me, wanting me to help them I've acquired a new title, matriarch, and not exactly voluntarily. And what that means is then I have to kind of reverse roles and decide about them and the projects and negotiate what I want to do. It's a different role in a tribe. What do you suggest I do? How do you deal with people who have gotten into this kind of role and
Absolutely.
coach them, Dan?
Absolutely. Charge more for your time, and that'll quickly.
How much,
So
how much did
we've got
Glenn
these
pay you
people
to
that
say
say,
that?
yeah, we've got these people that say, I want to pick your brain. And I say, okay. So I send them a bill for $3,000. Do you still want to pick my brain?
Lord, do you really?
Yeah, I do. Because here's the thing. We only have so much time. And it's not that I'm too good to help somebody, but what I found is so many people ask for help. Okay. And we reach down to help them, and we literally give them the map and we give them the plan, and then they do nothing with it. And they come back 6 months later and they say, I really need some help. Okay. With the same problem? Yes. Okay. Did you do anything I told you the last time? No. We have to, it's healthy for us to not necessarily block those people out, but when there's a monetary investment, how bad do you want it? I mean, like, I'll help anybody. I'll give the shirt off my back. However, if I help you out a couple times and you don't do anything with that information, I'm probably not going to continue to engage you. I'm going to create a proximity to you. It doesn't mean I need to be mean or disrespectful or just cut you out of my life, but I'm going to create a proximity because our time is better spent with people that are thinking on a higher level, with people that want to improve. And I think we can pretty quickly determine who wants that, who really wants it, who's willing to do the actions, and who isn't. Because a lot of people talk about it, but very few people are willing to do the work to actually do what it takes.
So when you tell them that you're going to send them a bill for $3,000, what do they do? How do they respond?
Oh, I don't even tell them. I just send it to them in an email. I say, here, you want to pick my brain? Here you go.
And what happens?
Sometimes it's like, okay, let's set up an appointment. I have a gentleman down in Alabama I consult for another generator business. And I went down there just to meet him because he's a colleague. And I gave him probably 40 hours of my time just to get a feel for his business and see what he was doing. And lo and behold, probably 3 weeks later, he calls me up and he offered me a job. And I said, thanks, but no thanks. And a few months went by and he said, listen, if you won't work for me, will you at least come down and train my team and look at my processes? I said, yep, sure will. Send him a bill, done deal. But that's an example of, okay, I'd given him probably 40 plus hours of my time just in kind because I was interested in his business.
Okay.
And in the end, he offered a job, and in the very end, even better yet, now he's paying my rate to coach him and straighten out his processes. So give before you receive. You'll know who's serious and who's not.
Love it. Thank you.
Hope that helps.
As time goes on, your value goes up because your experience goes up. And people will try to take advantage of your time. And if they take advantage of your time, then they're just going to keep doing the same thing. They're going to keep reciprocating that. So it's important to set your standard and set your price to some degree. I learned a hard lesson when I first moved to Chattanooga. I used to charge month to month. I decided to do that because I thought that would be a better way. And after 18 months of doing that, I realized too many people were not staying committed because they're not putting their name on the dotted line. And I didn't want to go back to that. But I had no choice because if I didn't, I wouldn't be successful. So I was talking to a guy just the other day, and he was telling me that he was interested in doing martial arts. But anyways, he's talking about he's not for entrepreneurism because of the money. People are always, in it for the money. And you have to make a living to some degree. And if you charge a rate that is fair, and if the ROI is going to be humongous, then, you got to go what the market will bear, but also be fair at the same time.
Right. It goes along with too, really define your market. Who's your market? Because I know exactly who my market is. I'll work with anyone. However, my target market is the man that is in business. He's been in business for a long time. He makes a ton of money, but he's disconnected from his relationships. He's not happy. He's miserable. He's pissed off at the world, and he's full of pride. Okay. These are the men that I can deal with because God's given me the gift of boldness to put them in their place because I was there. I was one of them. All right. So now I'm working with men that are making at least 6 figures. Money's not an option for them. They want to figure out how to get happy. They don't care what it costs. So do I feel like I'm screwing them? No, because I've lived it, I've been through it, and I know what it takes to get from one side of that to the other. Money's not, it's a great thing, but it doesn't create happiness, and I know that firsthand. So that's how I can help them. But again, that's my target market. So do I have to worry about, what I charge? No, I don't. I have to deal with a lot of prideful guys that don't don't always get it right away, but that's part of the deal.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. You have to identify your market, and you don't have all the time in the world.
Mirdad, you're breaking up.
Sorry, I think I'm jittery, but I agree with you, Dan. I agree.
Yeah, it's good.
You know your market. You have to know your market.
Kelly, you've got any words that you would like to share with us today or have a question?
I've just been listening so much. Something that I feel compelled about is I'm in my early 50s, and I had someone tell me last night, he said, one thing that's kind of interesting about your generation is you were raised not to ask for help. You were raised to kind of have your face up and keep your act together and so on. And it resonated in everything Dan's been saying today, because if you kind of grew up that you figure it out, if you will, I think that was my mother's favorite phrase, you'll figure it out. There are times when, especially as an entrepreneur, you can't figure it out on your own. And it's dropping a little pride. It's allowing yourself to recognize that there are other people out there that have the experience and expertise. And it's just something I'm continually compelled to share with others, is when we take time to share our story, we are really able to help other people, and you get that reciprocity that Dan's been talking about. So it's been a great conversation.
Kelly, I hadn't thought of it in a long time, but you really made an interesting point there of your age. You were raised not to ask for help. And really, I think that I'm a couple of years older than you, and I think that's probably characteristic of a lot of baby boomers. My father was second or third generation farmer, but he was in the Navy. He actually joined the Navy when he was 16 years old. He kind of lied about his age.
My dad did the same thing. He was 15 on a train to California, and he turned 16 on the ship.
And so probably your dad, like mine, had gotten only a couple of 3 weeks into whatever they call the equivalent of boot camp for the Navy, and they were needed people in the South Pacific so badly they shipped him out. He had, I think he said 3 different ships he was on that were blown up, and one of the ships, he was out trying to rescue survivors after he was on another ship, and he saw their ship, captain saw a ship that had blown up and there were survivors out there, so he was out in a life raft trying to bring in other survivors when his captain's ship came under fire. So you know what happened. He had to look after the lives of the most, and all of his men on the ship, so they had to leave them. So I remember my grandparents talking about getting a visit from a Navy officer saying your son's missing in action in the South Pacific, which means basically he's dead. Obviously he wasn't. About 4 months later, they got a call from him. He said, I'm in San Diego. We're fixing to leave for New York. Surprise, surprise, surprise. So he was a survivor, and he relied on his own abilities. And yes, there were about 4 or 5 others with him that survived. And I forget how many days they were at sea without food and water because they ran out pretty quickly. But he always kind of kept things to himself and tried to solve his own problems. In fact, even after I left home, I can remember him having pretty major surgery, but no one knew about it. Not even his brothers and sisters. And that's kind of the way they all operated. Folks, it's about 9:27. We're going to have to wrap up here pretty soon. So if any of you have some final words that you would like to share, be thinking of them. Just to let you know, Bob Woods said he would be with us today, but he has a dislocated shoulder and is on, as he said, lots of pain medication. Marcia Roberts had a routine doctor's visit today. Joe Wheelis, most of you remember, hadn't been with us since COVID. He's doing well. He had a couple of minor surgeries and is doing well, and I thought would be with us today. And some of you may remember Jordan Madrigal, the young man that was the climber that I forget where he was, in a foreign country, and hurt his back and his leg or foot pretty bad, and still continues to climb. In fact, he was just getting where he could walk on his own when he spoke to our group a little over a year ago, I think. So he had planned to be with us today. And of course, you know, Joe Robinson. Joe is, in addition to working, is also building a new home out in East Brainerd. So that's taking up a lot of his time. So some of these folks you might just, or anyone else that you've not seen for a while, you might want to just send them a message and tell them you miss them.
One last thing in closing is this is a lesson that I taught Alyssa not too long ago. If you don't ask,
the answer is always no.
If you don't ask, the answer is always no. Don't be afraid to ask, okay? Because the fact is, guys, we're all going through the same thing, all right? Most people are afraid to speak up, whether it's in business, relationships, health, whatever it is. Most people won't speak up. The answer is no if you don't ask. Get out there, ask questions, make those connections, and I challenge you, before the end of today, write down what is the legacy you want to leave, and that's going to determine, work backwards to build your tribe from there.
Most definitely. And I didn't get a chance to call on him before he left, but Trip Sawyer was with us today. I don't know if any of you know Trip, but he had joined by phone, but had to leave a little bit early. Folks, it's 9:30. Thank you there, Brother Dan, Professor,
Dan.
Coach. Any of you that would like to speak, let me know. Or you have a speaker that you would recommend, let me know. That concludes it. Again, thank you, Brother Dan. Thanks to each and every one of you. I grow as a result of my relationships with you. What a blessing each of you are. And remember, your day will be just as good as you visualize it.
Thanks, guys. Love you. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. That was great.
Well,
Thanks for sharing
Bye.
Bye.
your adorable daughter.
she's
Thank
a
you.
doll.
Does maybe mean no too, or is maybe maybe?
Maybe, you know,
No.
you always got to build a case.